Gosh, Jake is just giving away our biggest secrets that some things are scripted, and we follow those sometimes. Just so unprofessional. Guys, tonight's talk is it's going to be a fun one because I want you to think about something that you would say you might have been obsessed with. Now, when you think of being obsessed with something, maybe it was a TV show that you managed to binge like 7 seasons in like a day and a half. You didn't sleep at all. You just watched the entire thing. You were probably obsessed with that TV show. Maybe you have a dog who you would rather spend every waking moment with than with another human being because you just love your dog and your dog is pretty great. I mean, I think there's some people in this room that are obsessed with their dog. But obsession is something that is honestly kind of part of our lives. It's easy to become obsessed with something. You can really enjoy something, and some of those things that you become obsessed with are good. It's good to really enjoy something. And today, as we continue our series called The One, we're talking about the idea that people always want to find the one. They want to date the right person. They want to date the person that hopefully one day they get to spend the rest of their lives with. They're trying to find the one. But sometimes we're in that time of trying to find the one, which to some of us starts at a young age and goes until your 20s, maybe your 30s, maybe your 40s. Some people decide that, you know what, I don't want to find the one. But some people are always looking, and to some people it's more important than to others. I know plenty of people who are like, you know what, I'm okay with being single and being by myself. But I also know people, and I know high schoolers, who are always, every single day, talking about trying to find the right person. Now, I don't know about you, but maybe you know a high schooler or two that can't have a conversation without bringing up their boyfriend or their girlfriend. Maybe you know somebody who it's like no matter what you're talking about, they manage to bring this person up. And if they talk about them again, you may unfriend them forever because it is just that annoying. You might be sitting there thinking they might be a little obsessed with that person. Now, I understand that nobody ever wants to admit they're obsessed with somebody, and kind of as a disclaimer, I'm not saying, and I said it yesterday or last week, and I'm going to say it the rest of the series, I'm not ever going to tell you that you should not date anyone. I'm not going to say that you should date someone. That's going to become a decision that you make, but having interest in somebody and being obsessed with somebody are 2 very different things. It's liking somebody, being interested in somebody is not a problem. It only becomes a problem when a person or the idea of finding the one becomes an obsession. Now, how do you know if maybe this idea of finding somebody or somebody has become an obsession in your life? Maybe you have someone in your life and they are all you think about all day long. You're sitting in class just thinking about them, not paying attention. Maybe you have somebody in your life and they're the only person you ever spend time with. It's like the school bell rings, you're hanging out with them, they're coming over, you're going over, and then you go home at some point and you go to bed. And you wake up and you do the next thing, you do the same thing the next day. Maybe you have someone and they're all you talk about. Like I said, maybe you thought of that one friend. Maybe you're that one friend who's always talking about their significant other. Maybe you don't have somebody in your life, but the idea of having somebody in your life soaks up all your thoughts and all of your time, hoping that one day you can find that person who loves you for you. Now you might be thinking, like, is this really a bad thing? Is it bad to care for somebody so much that you think about them all the time? Is it so bad that you spend all your time with somebody who you care about and cares about you? Is it a bad thing to always be thinking about finding somebody who is just ultimately going to love you? And I'm telling you, no. It's not necessarily a bad thing. And I know that all of our music tells us that what love is like, and it's giving all of me so I can have all of you. And I know that all the Instagram, all the Instagram couples get even more likes because they're together or on TikTok or anything like that. But ultimately, it's setting up this idea of how we're supposed to treat our relationships. And we end up thinking that I need to be obsessed with the person I'm with. I need to spend every moment thinking about them. I need to spend every moment with them. And I'm here to tell you that is not what finding the one is about. Now, I understand you might be wondering, like, okay, well, even if I did spend all my time and all my thoughts with one person, is that really a bad thing? And I'll tell you why. There's at least 3 reasons why this is a bad thing. Because if you spend all your time thinking about somebody or with the one person, you end up missing out. You miss out on a whole lot of stuff that in high school is honestly really important. You might miss out on different sporting opportunities because you're like, you know what, I'm not going to go and do that anymore because I'd rather go hang out with them. And that's going to take time from them. You may miss out on an opportunity to join a club that you would be really interested in and really would mold you as a person. And maybe you'd miss out on an internship or a job because it takes time away from someone. You alienate yourself or you alienate other people. Trust me, your friends notice when you're obsessed with someone because you start spending all your time with the person instead of with them. And if you've ever been on the receiving end of that, you know when it's gone too far. You know when it's like, you know what, I just wish they would hang out with me instead. Why do they always have to hang out with him? Why do they always have to hang out with her? That person may be obsessed. You alienate people. And lastly, you lose yourself. High school is such a vital time to grow up. High school is a time in which you discover who you are as a person. And when you attach yourself to another person in an obsessing fashion, you are missing out on an opportunity to discover more about who you are. And then maybe one day you go off into college and maybe you guys stay together, maybe you guys break up, but you miss out on so much time in discovering who you are. Now everybody else is figuring out what they're doing with their life. And you feel like you are still searching, and you can bring it back to the fact that you're obsessed with someone else. Now, we talked about it last week, how the Bible doesn't really ever talk about dating, because dating did not exist at any point in which the Bible was written. It was never a thing that people did back then. No guy ever walked up to a girl and said, hey, you want to go on a date? They would have been like, what is that? Dating was not a thing at all. Most everything was arranged marriages. And so it was a guy marrying a woman, and it was pretty much to bring 2 families together and cool, this is who you're with the rest of your life. Hopefully you guys live to like 42 or something like that. And that's ultimately all life was. That's all dating was. There was no actual dating of what we see now. And so the Bible doesn't ever talk about dating. But the Bible does talk about a whole lot of wisdom. And a lot of that wisdom we can actually end up applying to dating. And so last week we talked about the book of Proverbs. Proverbs is an entire book full of wisdom, talking about different things that we can then apply to other aspects of our lives. And today we're going to be looking at Proverbs 25:16. It says, if you find honey, eat just enough, too much of it, and you will vomit. That's pretty straightforward. I'm like, okay. So you can take that for what it actually says and be like, okay, if you find some honey, which means, I guess for us at this point, if you go to the grocery store, don't eat too much of it because it'll make you throw up. You could take it for that. But you could apply that idea to a whole lot of places in your life. Too much of something good. Honey was a good thing back then. There was not a whole lot of sweetness in the lives of people in the Bible, but honey was very sweet. It was something that people really enjoyed. So he's saying if you find honey, if you find something sweet, if you find something that is good, eat just enough. Have just enough of it. Don't go overboard. Don't eat too much, because then you will vomit. Too much of a good thing can turn into a bad thing. Too much of somebody who cares about you can turn into an obsession. This is full of wisdom in such a simple, find honey, eat just enough. But we're going to look somewhere else. We're going to look also in the New Testament, in the book of Ephesians. Now, Ephesians was written to the church of Ephesus. Now, a lot of times we read the New Testament, we think that it's somebody writing to another person. Well, with the book of Ephesians, it's actually the writer of Ephesians is actually writing to a group of people. So it's much more, this would have been read out loud much more in a setting like this, where one person read to a group, and that group was meant to apply that to their lives. And so that's why the book of Ephesians is really applicable to us, because we can identify ourselves as somebody who would have been like in that group, as somebody who would have been a part of a church body. And in the book of Ephesians, it says this: "Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise." That's another really simple scripture. I think that the words unwise and wise are there for a reason. Because a lot of times we think we're just going to do what's right or we're going to do what's wrong. I'm either going to make the right decision or I'm going to make the wrong decision. But when it comes to dating, you don't want to make the right decision and you don't want to make the wrong decision. You want to make the wise decision. You need to make the decision that makes sense, not just the one that seems right. This is not about right or wrong. It's about asking what is best for the situation that I'm in right now. If your parents have a very strict policy on you do not date while you're in high school, guess what? It's never going to be wise for you to date. Because it's not going to go well for you when your parents find out that you're dating somebody. If you find somebody who cares about you for who you are, it might be wise to go on a date with them. If you know that you are a person that can never set boundaries and keep them, then it's probably not wise for you to date, because you're going to end up making an unwise decision. It's not about being right or it's not about being wrong. It's about making the decision that's wise. Now, I know when it comes to being obsessed with someone or something, nobody wants to admit that they're obsessed. Like, the only thing you might have admitted to being obsessed with that I've said today is being obsessed with your dog. That's probably the only thing that somebody's going to say, yeah, I am obsessed with my dog. I love my dog very much. Everything outside of that, people are going to say, no, it's healthy, I promise. Like, you're going to make excuses for what it is. But today, we need to ask ourselves, where has it gone from interest to obsession? When we break out into our groups today, you're going to need to ask yourself, at what point does a healthy interest in someone, maybe someone in your life right now, or when does the healthy interest in someone, just the idea of somebody else, or the idea of dating, become an obsession? And at what point is somewhere between being interested in someone and being obsessed with someone? And what point are you at right now in your life? Are you the kind of person that just wants a relationship so bad that it's consuming you? It's taking every day, you're thinking about, how can I just find somebody who's going to love me? It might be an obsession, an idea that you're obsessed with, that you're looking for. Maybe you're dating somebody right now and you know that you spend too much time with them, that you think about them too much. Maybe it's turned into an obsession. Now, for today's talk, we're going to stop here. I'm not going to give you practical ways in order to figure out if you're obsessed with something or with someone, or how to get out of it, or even how to care for somebody more, anything like that. These are all going to happen in your groups today. Because this is such a different topic, because nobody's going to sit here and say that I'm obsessed with that person, or likely nobody's going to think that, we're going to talk about it in our groups. Now, guys, this is an awesome opportunity, and I've talked about it last week, and I'll talk about it almost every single week that we ever have groups, which is every single week. This is a great opportunity for you to be open and for you to be honest. Be open with the people around you, because these are the people that are going to help you become the best person that you can be. These are the people that are going to be thinking the same way you are. These are going to be the same people who just heard the same words that came out of my mouth. These are going to be the same people who are doing life with you. Maybe only for the next 4 months, maybe for the next 4 years. So I encourage you guys to be open with this conversation and be honest. So as we break out into our groups in just a moment, if you do not know where you need to go for a group, I'd love to just have a conversation with you, maybe meet you for the very first time. But if you know where you're going, then guys, go ahead, get up, and we can break out into our groups right now.